can just focus on casting. In any case, it is going to be what looks like the Druid, the mid-range Druid from Qiutu against the Patron Warrior of Breath. That's basically what Breath has wanted to do, at least these past two series. And for Qiutu, looks like his Warlock was banned, so that's basically the same thing that Breath banned out last time. It looks like he's a bit worried about the matchups that he has, regardless of what his opponent plays out there. In any case, it's going to be the Darnassus coming out right here, which is a bit scary, obviously because that Shredder can come out the following turn. But for Breath here, doesn't have the perfect start that he had last game. Obviously that didn't work out. Having that perfect start didn't work out last game either. So we'll see how this goes going forward. And has a bit of a decision here. He can take out the Darnassus to maybe prevent a 5-drop coming out. Typically, you're more likely to see a 5-drop come out of Druid than to see them have perfectly, a Shredder into a Shredder. Unfortunately for his sake, Qiutu does have another Shredder in his right there to be able to play out. So going to have to deal with this. Going to have the value trade onto the Cruel Taskmaster. Then we'll see what Breath can do in this particular situation. Probably trades with this Shredder first off, and see what comes out. Just a 2/3, which is perfectly fine as well. And going to use his Despite here. So basically a pretty back and forth game. The one thing about Patron these days, I know it's been a long time since the Warsong nerf, but I mean, people aren't necessarily completely familiar with the situation. In this case, it doesn't matter too much that Breath hasn't been able to find the Patron yet. It's still kind of okay for his sake, but it's still hold on as we see what happens here. It's still fine to not get the Patron. Wow, actually that Druid of the Claw is a beast, so that hyena will get a bit bigger here. But that's really funny to see. Anyway, this is a bit long-winded of what I'm saying here, but what I'm trying to get to is that you don't need to get the Patron right on time to win this matchup. In the past, that was the case. If you didn't get that, you probably just lose. But right now, you don't really rely on that, and you can kind of stall out the game before you get your Patrons later.
Yeah, I think this is really unfortunate for Brett, and he's also smiling himself that how the idea about this. I think you can coin to draw cards, but you are taking damage with that as well. So
Yeah, there could be an execute here regardless. He could, really matter what Breath executes. It's basically the same exact situation anyway. But it is kind of painful to have the situation where you have to use execute, but it still turns out okay for him. The one thing is that I believe if the whirlwind went off, I don't believe that the
no,
hyena
because
would get
five,
bigger.
you deal 5 damage to the Druid and do 1 damage to the hyena,
I know,
and
but
so
what I was thinking is that the what if Breath attacked in first instead of whirlwinding first? Because if you
yeah,
attack in, then they both. Oh right, because it would have been at 1 health. You're right. You're right. Okay. Okay. Never mind. My mistake. But in a theoretical, hold on, but wait, in a theoretical situation, that wouldn't have happened in this game, but in a theoretical situation, if it was a 4/5 and a Shredder at 1 health, what would happen in that case?
I guess the only way you can do that is you use the weapon first before you use your first weapon, but you won't be able to know there'll be hyena come up this anyway. So I think it's a
I've
reasonable
actually.
play that just very unfortunate you got
Right. Right. I think it was just unfortunate for Breath, but now I'm kind of confused about this. Maybe I'll just have to email Hysteria or something. I've actually never seen that before, the interaction where there's a taunt and then there's a Shredder, but then the
oh,
hyena comes out and it could get bigger. Anyway, we're going to continue with this game. Sorry about that little distraction. And actually some normal Druid cards for a change to be discovered from Qiutu here. Obviously, don't go for the Wild Growth. It doesn't really make sense at this point in the game. It does go for the
well, I
Force
mean,
Nature, which
can
means he
go
has
for it
triple
with
Force
two more
Nature.
cards later, but you have the Asian law there, so kind of redundant to draw a card. And three forces nature in Qiutu's hand.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. We'll see where these boombots land. It's pretty important here. does land on the fresh patron and kills it off right away, but there is the BGH there to take out the Dr. Boom. So this is kind of an interesting situation, right? Breath has managed to develop some patrons. The most healthy one can get taken out by the Wrath unless he decides to go ahead and enrage it does Breath. But there's 3 Force Natures in Qiutu's hands, so he can definitely, use that as a lot of removal here, and he can actually just go ahead and, use combo, though he still won't get everything done, if that makes any sense, and he can go for, the full combo, and take out the first half of the Belcher, or take out the entire Belcher, excuse me, because it is at 4 health, which is very beneficial for Qiutu. And then he can take out 2 patrons, the 5-2 and the 3-3. A swipe here would be okay. It would leave behind a 5-1, a 3-1, and a 3-3 as far as patrons are concerned. But looks like he's just going to go for the Wrath just to start off. Maybe he goes for 1. Yeah, I think he's going to go for 1 and then use the swipe, which will leave only a 3-1 patron. Actually, 2-3-2-2s, now he's not going for the patrons. That's a bit surprising to me that he's doing that. He could have swiped the patron and left much less on the board, but anyway. Going to be a pretty huge battle rage here for Breath. And looks like Qiutu, he didn't really want to, sacrifice some of the resources in hand in the situation. Armor Smith comes in hand, which would be very helpful in being able to secure some armor so that he's not in trouble of dying to anything crazy. Obviously, he did see that Raven idol earlier, so maybe there's some insane stuff in the hand of Qiutu. But for now, looks like Breath is in pretty good control of this game.
Yeah, he would probably have lethal next turn with the Grom. And he also has the Slam to activate the Grom as well. He has 2 taunts. He has an Armor Smith for Qiutu to get through. I guess you need a innovate to do something here, but
right. If it was a bit different, if there was double roar, he might have been able to get a lot of damage in, and me not quite lethal. But he's actually going to go for combo here. He might have gone for double force to get something done. Instead, he's just going to go for this. He will be to take out all of the fresh patrons, or the patrons that are capable of duplicating. He might want to go for the big hunter, just lessen the damage, but it looks like he's just going to go for this. And that is just going to be game because Grom plus Slam is 10 damage. That's going to be the first game going over to Celestial's Breath.
It's really well played by Breath there, and Qiutu facing against uphill battle, not do anything too surprising, and he's down against a 0-1 score there, and we'll see Breath. Other decks, finally, we didn't actually get to see any other decks from Breath in that first match against Gus there.
Right, this will be a surprise, or not a surprise, but we'll have to find out with you guys what kind of stuff is in Breath decks. Typically the Druid is just a typical, combo Druid. We'll see if maybe he has something like Harrison Jones in it. We did see, what was it, the Harrison Jones and the Ooze? Who was playing that? I feel like it was MieGod. Yeah, MieGod was playing that in his Paladin.
Yeah, in his Paladin deck.
Right. Definitely makes sense, especially because if he might have been, expecting some Shaman. What is this trophy we're looking at? Looks like Diablo? Or Warcraft?
I think it's...
Qiutu's having a bit of fun with that. Or not Qiutu, Xingsu. Anyway, that's a pretty cool little thing right there. I was gonna call it a toy, but maybe a bit. I think maybe people will take offense to me calling it a toy. In any case, Qiutu has Paladin, Shaman, and Druid left, and we know it's kind of it's a Paladin that's a secret Paladin with Quartermaster in it, and also Zombie Chow, so a bit of a different build. Breath, we probably know his Druid's combo, but we'll have to see. And it looks like we are taking a look at his Warlock. It looks like it's going to be Mallylock.
Yeah, it looks like. Otherwise, you don't know why the Twilight Guardian is there, and You
Right.
could play
I mean,
Handlock or Renalock.
yeah,
I don't
theoretically
know.
he could be playing Dragon Reno Lock, but that's typically it's typically a bit too inconsistent for people to do that. On the side of Qiutu, he's gonna go with his Druid once more. I really think this is a bad idea if he's intending on keeping three uh, three ramp cards, but only keeps two, gets two swipes. And yeah, his hand is looking very poor. Speaking of Qiutu, not gonna need to pick up a pretty big minion here to round this out. And that is not it. All right, so gonna be coin into Darnassus, and we'll see if Breath, whoa, okay, he picks up a Dark Bomb, so he's actually perfectly fine. I was gonna say maybe he overreacts and Soulfires it, but not gonna be too big of a deal. Just picks up the Dark Bomb right off the top for his case, and wow, this is very awkward here for Qiutu. It doesn't even, I mean, he could innervate the Shred, or excuse me, the Shade, which actually might have been reasonable. On the side of Breath, I mean, he basically has the superior hero power in this situation, able to tap into more cards, whereas Qiutu has nothing to do. Probably going to play this Shade unless he picks something up right now. Picks up Druid the Claw, but doesn't even consider it, interestingly enough. And I imagine we're just going to see this Twilight Drake come out. It could get silenced, but unless there's an Innervate and a Silence, it's not going to die too easily, so it's better to get it out on turn 4 than any later in the game.
Yes, you want to the a relatively big Twilight Drake and a relatively big Shade. Talking about both players, it's really painful at this stage that I think you swipe and you just pass this turn like that.
Interesting.
But
So it looks like Breath is going to go for the Hellfire here. I was wondering if he was going to go for the Hellfire just to make sure that this Shade died. That could be a pretty big, it could be pretty annoying in the future, so it definitely makes sense to go for that. Basically, wow, Big Game Hunter off the top. Looks like Dr. Boone's Battle Cry is in effect. Summon 2 Boom Bots and make your opponent draw BGH off the top in the next turn. Definitely a great card here for Breath. Keep in mind that Malilok usually runs 2 BGHs, so it's not the most ridiculous thing that you've ever seen. But I want to go back to, I mean, obviously he's thinking about what he wants to do with this BGH. It's kind of a awkward situation. Maybe he goes for an Owl plus BGH just to get something on the field. Maybe he just taps. Looks like it's just going to be a tap. Unfortunately, he can't brand and BGH that guy twice. No, but all right. But anyway, going back, I mean, it's interesting that he used the Hellfire there, because the only way, if you don't kill the Shade there, the only way to make your opponent reveal the Shade is to kind of, threaten their life total. Otherwise, there's no real reason for them to reveal it until they kill your opponent. And he was choosing between that or an unbuffed Twilight Guardian, so that definitely makes sense for Breath there. Alright, we have a choice between Mulch, Swipe, and Power of the Wild. Goes for the 3rd swipe so far, so, I mean, if you get double swipe in your opening hand, that's pretty bad, but when you get a 3rd swipe, it kind of works out.
Druid Claw coming down, and Breath can use the second Hellfire.
Right. The only issue is you get a bit low there. Are you afraid of Innervate combo? You probably shouldn't be, because a lot of time if you play that scared, you're not playing the odds at all. The other consideration is maybe use the Soulfire here along with that Mortal Coil to just clear your opponent's board that way. But everything is just kind of weird here, right? He can't really do anything. I guess what you could do is just a Hellfire and then play the Brand just to kind of force your opponent to respond to it.
Yeah, that might be the play. Oh,
interesting. Well, that's
Another
certainly
dragon.
a play. That's certainly one thing you can do. Just easy get a dragon off the top there by mortal coiling the Boombot after you silence it. To be fair, there's not many silence targets in the Druid deck. There's sometimes Sylvanas, but not always. So definitely makes sense for Breath here to utilize that right there. Didn't really want to just throw away his entire board with that Hellfire on just 2 minions. So pretty okay for him. On the side of Qiutu, he's just going to silence right back and be able to take out this Owl, so there's no value trade onto this Druid of the Claw. Still, the 2/6 can take out the 4/2. And we'll see what Breath wants to do here. He can actually just tap as well as play that heal bot if he wants to kind of get out of trouble. Actually, looks like he's going to heal for 16 here. Unfortunately, only able to heal for 14. You know, first world problems here for Breath.
First of all, probably indeed, and Qiutu is not very happy.
Ooh,
But
that's a silence target. So Breath probably wasn't expecting to see an Ancient of War. I mean, it's sometimes played, but not always. I mean, even more, he wasn't expecting a golden Ancient of War. But this being Qiutu, maybe you should have expected that.
yeah, I mean, Qiutu is pretty rich, and actually, this is actually the second player we see that bring actually holy golden decks. The other one we saw is Libo the other day, who brought a golden hat along with his golden decks. Qiutu doesn't have the snake hat, but his deck is pretty good still.
Yep. Huh, this is interesting. I was not expecting not the Thorson to come down here. I suppose he's just waiting to be able to discount more than just his Soulfire, and maybe a Malagos as well. So if he Thorsons now, Malagos would be able to finish out the game with the Soulfire, assuming that the second Soulfire isn't discarded, which, to be fair, always happens. But it looks like Breath is playing a little bit greedy here. I was assuming he was going to go for the Thorson for the utility and not try to go for the overall, you know, basically the combo play. This deck is capable of winning without utilizing, you know, the full combo. It can just basically value your opponent. But anyway, Breath is seeing the third swipe coming out of Qiutu. Probably not too happy about this situation. To be fair, he is still at a reasonable life total. There is lethal for Qiutu if he does have combos. That's something that Breath has to keep in mind. Picks up an Implosion, which means he can clear this board utilizing Hellfire and Implosion. Doesn't have to use something like a Soulfire. So yeah, looks like he's going to go for that. Not in danger of dying to anything unless it's double combo, which we can see is not in the hand of Qiutu. And yeah, this game is going extremely back and forth here. We'll see if Breath finally utilizes one of his Soulfires to take care of this Ancient of War. I mean, if he was playing around combo, then he might feel like he has to take this guy out utilizing that.
Yeah, but I think you can.
You can lead with
Drake first anyway to draw a card.
Yeah, you can lead with the Drake. The Soulfire would be 5 damage. Mortal Coil would be 2. And you can also use the Abusive Sergeant as well to help him out in this situation. He could discard the Mortal Coil, which would be a bit of a disaster. Does discard it, which is really bad for him. Probably has to use his second Soulfire here. Doesn't want to get rid of the cards in his hand, so he realizes whatever is in his deck is less valuable than the 2 cards in his hand, so he does go for that, goes for the tap first, and, you know, discards the Imp King boss, so that works out for him. Both Soulfires gone, but is able to take out that guy nice and easy, and there's the combo, so it's a good thing that Breath was able to take care of that. Alright, so there's 6, 7, 8 damage on board for Qiutu here, and he's going to hit the face 1 so that he can maybe get lethal onto his opponent the following turn, and this could not be spelled out, you know, more clearly for Breath. You either have a heal or a taunt or you're dead. That is not either. Does he tap for it? Pretty much has to tap, and gets the Sludge Belcher. That is absolutely huge. The funny thing is he actually could have gone for the Azure Drake into the Sludge Belcher as well, which would have been a bit more potent. But yeah, Sludge Belcher is the combo stopper. There's a silence, but he can't do everything at once, can Qiutu. However, he can prevent maybe lethal on his face, then play the combo the next turn. So not playing the Azure Drake, maybe a bit of a mistake there by Breath. I mean, it's not like anything he could have drawn there would have costed more than 5 mana anyway. Sludge Belcher, Healbot, for instance. And so, yeah, you know, Breath here needs to find lethal or find another heal/taunt, or else he's going to lose this game. There's Malagos. That's not quite lethal. Do you go for the Azure Drake this time? Or do you tap like you did last time? Looks like he's going to go for the Azure Drake, realizing that it would have been better last time. And there's the Dark Bomb. That's going to do it. And Breath takes game number 2. Qiutu cannot believe it.
Definitely not really happy. Actually, we see the classic pose from Qiutu as he appeared in Chinese Children, the uh, Dou moments that he faced mind control. He just pissed off and moved his chair back along with his body.
Like basically the Forcing reaction, right? Never lucky. Qiutu never lucky. In any case, we have Breath on his final deck, that being the Druid. IG's Qiutu is left with his Shaman, his Secret Paladin with Quartermasters and Zombie Chows, and his Druid as well. So we'll see what he chooses. The last time we saw Qiutu in his position down match point, he did decide to go with the unfavored matchup just to kind of get it over with, to see if he could, doesn't want to elongate the match. Basically, just seeing if he can get a win with his weaker matchup, and if he can, then maybe he can, psychologically just psych out his opponent and see if he can just get a win with his stronger decks later. But we'll see if he does the same thing here as well, or if he does go for the favored matchup in this case.
Yes, indeed.
Shaman is kind of a middle ground. Paladin is a bit more favored against Druid. Shaman is it's pretty close to even, maybe favoring Shaman by a little bit, but not quite as favored as Paladin would be in the situation, whereas Druid would be obviously a complete split, it would rely completely on the tech choices. But Breath gonna go with the standard Druid play: coin, Innervate, Shredder into turn 2 Wild Growth. Obviously, Breath being a very good Druid player, having this kind of start. And we'll see how IG's Qiutu can handle it. Has a Totem Golem, but that's going to be it's going to be overloading next turn. And Breath definitely happy that he decided to go with this. But 1/1 comes out. You can't be only sometimes lucky, right? Only sometimes you can get the best situation possible.
Yeah, and this is actually the worst. Lopez Engineer, the worst thing you can get in the situation. Kevin's Perry is a beast. I mean, you gotta.
Well,
even if you get a Doomsayer, you're pretty happy that the totem will die next turn. So
right. In this particular situation, that was probably the worst. There are times when you get Narrowbar Weblord and you kind of block yourself from playing stuff, which can be pretty annoying. In any case, Sludge Belcher does come down. Qiutu has full mana available, which means he can use this Lava Burst to get rid of the first half. Let's see if he commits to the Lava Shock as well. He could actually just get a lot of damage in, but looks like he's just going to commit to this Whirling Zap-O-Matic and put a lot of pressure onto Breath. But Breath is actually going to play this very risky. Just plays out the Thaurissan, doesn't want to commit to that Savage Roar, kind of forces his opponent to deal with this Thaurissan. However, Qiutu can deal with it maybe while hitting a lot of damage to the face with that Rock Bite. Let's see if this rolls for 5 or 6. Does roll for 3, which is not going to kill it, but he's able to use that Lava Shock. That's kind of interesting to me from Qiutu. Doesn't go ahead and use his Rock Biter, but definitely makes sense to just develop the board a bit more. And right on time is his Ancient of War for Breath to kind of put a block in front. We'll see what comes up here. Second Rock Biter. Alright, so there's actually a lot of damage you can kind of get done here. This is actually this is a tough turn for Qiutu. So do you put both on the Trog and just, get 9 damage to the face? Do you throw it on the Trog and the Totem Golem and then get... No. Then you can get 12 damage to the face that way, but you only have a Whirling Zap-O-Matic left. It's actually pretty tough. I think I might go for the 9 and have the bigger board. And yeah, he is going to go for that. So the Ancient of War is gone, but it did require 2 Rock Biters, which means those 2 Rock Biters weren't going in that Whirling Zap-O-Matic, luckily for Breath here. So interesting to see what he'll go for. I mean, he picked up that Keeper, which is a nice way to deal with that Whirling Zap-O-Matic, but he does, float a lot of mana that way, and doesn't get the healing right away. It looks like he is going to go for that. Going to save his
interesting. Actually, he could have used a sub-draw as well to kill the totem.
Oh, right, that is true. But the totem isn't too big of a deal. That's, I mean, at some point you're going to want to race, so I feel like that's what he's waiting for. But he'd actually use it. No, it's actually, you know what? I like it because now he can use it on his Keeper of the Grove to kill off the Totem Golem, and he doesn't have to
Yeah,
use his face.
that's definitely true.
All right, so heals himself. I imagine he's going to use his Savage Roar to kill off the Totem Golem and maybe kill off the 1/1 probably, because that can get, repetitive damage. The O2 Totem doesn't really matter too much. And the best card I think here for Qiutu would be probably a Doomhammer, just to make that Trog a bit bigger. Maybe even
How
Ancestral
about
Knowledge into Doomhammer. Oh, he gets the Ancestral Knowledge. Oh my goodness. So this could be actually lethal right here with the Doomhammer. Does not get it. Gets the Argent Horse Rider though, so that's pretty good overall. 5 damage hitting the face of Breath, but he does have another heal.
and get 1/1, which is not what you want. And Force of Nature can clear, but
Right. If you're Breath, I mean, you're not really too close to killing your opponent, so maybe you start just clearing stuff off instead of hitting the face here. Doesn't want basically wants to clear stuff as much stuff off the board as possible, so leaves out the Argent Horse Rider. Can Qiutu pick up lethal here? Picks up the Doomhammer, which is 1 damage off lethal. Trademark Force in here, and not gonna be too afraid of lethal coming the other way because he's already seen 1 Savage Roar. 21, 20. Yeah, there wouldn't be lethal with 1 combo anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Wrath comes out of the hand of Breath. He needs a taunt or a heal right now, and that's not going to be. That's going to be game. And Qiutu is going to make this a bit of a series. Going to bring it down, bring it up to 1-2.
definitely it's very hard for you to get 3-0 in Conquest. And rest, I mean, the Druid is still not that good against the Secret Paladin with the even it's with the Quartermaster. So we'll see how we do. We might still come to Druid Mirror, and since we go like that, and Qiutu has a chance still. I mean, Druid, you just get a better draw and you wins from there. But we'll see Qiutu what he will do. He could still play the Druid first.
Yeah, if you
Which
go by
will-
what Jutsu did earlier, he might just go with that Druid and say, "All right, we'll see if this can get a win, and then we'll go with my Secret Paladin next." But it will be up to him, obviously, what deck he chooses. Again, his Secret Paladin has Zombie Chow and Quartermaster in it, and it's not the 4 secret, the Secret Paladin. He does have at least 5 secrets in there, even more at least. So he's gonna go with the more favored matchup first, which is a bit different from what he did last series, and. Looks like he's thinking about keeping Repentance. He kept Repentance.
Which might be reasonable because Druid has pretty big minions, and you want to gather around the taunt.
At the very least, it will definitely throw off Breath. But he is committing to this Repentance. He's not going to go for, mini-bot into Creeper or Creeper into mini-bot. And Breath figures out that it's not, Noble Sacrifice at the very least, but we'll see how quickly he figures out what it is in general. Probably not going to play out this BJ's. Actually, Strider is pretty good to get Repentance here. He's going to figure out right now. And if Breath was paying attention, he saw Qiutu keep that in his opening hand, which is pretty interesting. Anyway, this Creeper can be pretty good along with this Knife Juggler. Let's see if he goes for it. Yes, he is going to go for it. And just going to sacrifice this off. Let's see what... Oh, yeah, the Creeper was first, so it is going to do that. And perfectly kills them off.
Oh!
So, Mana Wraith comes out, like you exclaimed there. Gonna just kill off this Knife Juggler and get this Druid Claw. The big thing there was that Qiutu was unable to go into coin mini-bots there. So, maybe he wanted to do that, maybe not. But we'll never find out. Anyway.
So they could go for the Redemption here, which is pretty good.
Yeah, he's gonna go for the Redemption. Redemption on the Shredder is always what you want there. And Sylvanas is a very nice answer to any sort of redemption nonsense. Basically, Sylvanas says, I'll just steal that from you. But, yeah, Blessing of Kings could, say something different here. Looks like it's just going to kill it off. And now this owl could get redempted, or redeemed, whatever the verb is for that. Let's see if Breath, decides to go ahead and kill off the owl. Right, swipe comes into the hand. If I believe they changed they changed it so that the owl gets redeemed here. I think.
We will have to see. Just
So it used to be that the 4 went first, and then it went the 1s. That's what happened with things like Imking Boss. But I think Blizzard didn't want that interaction. They didn't want Imking Boss just dying to one swipe. So they changed it, and now it happens at the exact same time. So before they changed it, it would have been the Shield of Minibot that came back, but in this case, it actually is the owl that comes back because of the change. So this is a pretty awkward situation here for Qiutu. Has to use the Blessing of the Kings just to play defensively here. On the other hand, Brett doesn't really have the best hand here. Has kind of a looks like he's gonna have to use Wrath just cycle, which is reasonable. He gets to play a Shredder out as well, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But he's gonna be coming up against Tyrion pretty soon. Not next turn. We'll see if Qiutu can pick up a Dr. Boom or Dr. Six himself, the mysterious challenger.
well, actually, both are pretty bad in this situation. I mean,
Right, against the BG8s, right? You're absolutely right. So the problem here with Qiutu playing Repentance out earlier is now Breath knows that this is not going to be Repentance now. And you might think, it's like, well, what does that matter? Why doesn't why does it matter if he's afraid of Repentance or not? I mean, who plays Repentance in this situation anyway? But you saw Qiutu, he had nothing in his hand, nothing to do, so obviously he's just going to play whatever he has. But Breath can just go ahead and not even worry about it, just play out the Ancient of War, and that's when it can get a bit dicey, having played that Repentance early on in the game. So going to be Wrath just pinging off this first part of Tyrion. He might actually use his face as well. This swipe can be useful. Is it lethal? Oh, I haven't even been paying attention to Qiutu's his face there, but yeah, that is going to be lethal pretty easily. He already knows it's not Noble Sacrifice, so just going to go with the face here. And Breath is going to take the series 3-1. And unfortunately for Qiutu, he is out. Unfortunately, this was kind of, expected of him. A lot of people thought he might be the first one out, and that is his fate. Started out the day with 50 yuan on his name, and now he is down to 0 as Breath take the last 25 off of